Hello, everyone. Today, you will hear an interesting story. Anton and Tatiana met a long 10 years ago. At the time, Anton was a young student at the police academy studying to become an investigator. Yes, studying was hard, but Anton did not lose optimism. Tatiana studied at the conservatory. She had been fond of singing since she was a child and often performed at school events, so she decided to pursue her singing career. Tatiana came by chance to the cafe. On that day, she had some problems with one of her classes, and she needed to think about what to do next. Anton showed up at the cafe, also not from the good life. He had just smacked his mate for molesting a lady of his age on the street, and now Anton was worried, so that number one complained to the boss. The police academy was supposed to expel the one who had put up a fight between mates. And so in that cafe Anton saw a thoughtful lady, a student judging by her age. Anton approached her, said hello, asked her sympathetically, "You're in trouble, aren't you?" "Trouble?" The student sighed. "I'm Anton Marcus, a future investigator." The student smiled embarrassedly, said, "And I'm Tatiana Levin, a future singer," and she recounted how she became one. "Yeah," Anton said, shaking his head, "and I've always dreamed of solving cases. Since I was a kid, I read detective stories, and even at school, I was always exposing delinquents." Tatiana looked at him with surprise and with a sort of condemnation. Anton lowered his eyes, a little embarrassed, but said firmly, "Yes, you do not think anything bad. I did not complain about them to the teachers. You understand, I did not need to be branded a snitch." Tatiana's look seemed to have changed. Now she just listened to Anton with interest. And so the conversation went that day, and each of them understood something was going to happen. Something good. Anton and Tatiana exchanged phone numbers and began dating ever since. Because they were the same age and studied at the same course, but in different educational institutions. The graduation was about the same time, though Tatiana's was a few days earlier than Anton's. When all the ceremonies were over, when Anton finally got a job as an investigator, when it became clear that Tatiana would become the lead singer of the Central Opera House, then the future spouses decided to get married. From then on, it was on. She performed on stage. He investigated various cases. Anton proved himself to be a good investigator. He was given a good salary and a company car. In general, life went like clockwork. Tatiana was also doing well. She performed, gathering a full house of admirers. She also received a lot of money. At first, Anton strained the huge number of fans of his wife, but Tatiana once said, "Honey, do not worry. These people will not do anything to our marriage. I love you and only you," and she kissed Anton on the cheek. Anton instantly calmed down, smiled sweetly, hugged Tatiana. "Okay. Let's forget it," he said for reassurance. And again, calm, peaceful life. Anton came to terms with the sheer number of admirers of Tatiana and stopped responding to them. This went on for several years. Anton was sometimes not in a good mood that he could not attend premieres where his wife was performing. Sometimes he would come just in time for the banquet, apologized, gave Tatiana flowers, and politely declining invitations to sit at the table, he went home. Once he was similarly late for the premiere, just a little, just 5 minutes. Anton got upset and rushed straight into the dressing room. "Hey, where are you going?" the guard called him angrily. "To my wife." "After all these years, you should have remembered that by now." The guard shouted something more, but Anton could not hear him anymore. He really wanted to catch his wife in the dressing room, as her exit was not the first in line. Alas, he did not catch his wife. However, the trained eye of the investigator at once caught one detail: a strange, chaotic arrangement of bottles with nail polish and other goodies. The fact that Tatiana always loved strict order, both at work and at home. And she demanded the same from her husband. It pissed Anton off sometimes, but he had learning to live with it. Okay. Anton consoled himself. Maybe this time, She was in a hurry to get to the stage, that's why it happened. He didn't ask his wife about anything that day. He decided to check on her the next day. The next day in the dressing room, all the bottles were displayed in the usual order. Tatiana. Once again, Anton was reassured. Then he noticed a few more times a little disorder in the dressing room, but did not pay much attention to it because he understood Tatiana was in hurry to perform, and therefore could not always keep track of things. And never once did it bother him that Tatiana in some conversations began to avert his eyes. Another incident turned everything upside down in Anton's life. One day, he was passing the Central Opera House in his company car and stopped at a traffic light. The red light here was always on for quite a long time, and Anton started looking at the wide car park in front of a theater. Suddenly 2 people appeared on the huge porch of the establishment. Anton recognized his wife at once, but what the other type was, Anton had to think back. "Where have I seen you? You bastard," Anton thought. And he remembered it was the chief conductor in this theater. "And what the hell are you doing with my wife?" the investigator barked in his mind. What happened next finally enraged Anton. Chief conductor led Tatiana to a huge black Mercedes with a personal driver. Opened the door and Tatiana sat down. Then the conductor got in. And then already in the car on the back seat, they hugged each other. It probably even kissed a hickey. "So that's who was in your dressing room," Anton guessed belatedly. He was the one who left the mess. At that moment, another car honked from behind. Anton realized the light was on green. "Well, here's a sudden case for me," Anton thought, not happy at all. What it was, he could not yet understand. But he did when he handed in his shift at the investigator's office. After work, he approached the chemist, said in a low voice, "I have a work for you, but don't say anything," and slipped a large sum of money into his pocket. "Yes," the chemist said eagerly and also in a low voice. "Can you make a remedy that will make a person lose his or her voice?" "I don't need much. It would be enough to keep my wife from singing." The chemist hesitated and asked sympathetically, "Has she cheated?" "Yes." Anton answered hurriedly and asked, "Well, will you do it?" "I'll give you more money later." "I'll do it," said the chemist. "Wait here if you want." So Anton waited. He waited for a long time, several hours. And all the time his mind was spinning with thoughts, including some very insidious ones. In fact, at the moment Anton was more ruled by emotions than by common sense. Anton already regretted 100 times that he had not jumped out of his car at once and punched this chief conductor in the face. "All right, take it easy," Anton reassured himself and retreated for a while to his office. There he made a request to be provided with CCTV footage from that day. Fortunately, these cameras around the city are a dime a dozen. He wanted to find out where the chief conductor had taken Tatiana. Fortunately, he remembered the number plate of Mercedes. And Anton began to look long and hard to see where the car had gone. "Anton, I did what you asked," said the chemist, opening the door to the office. "You put it in your wife's coffee, and she won't be able to sing in her clear voice. Instead, you'll get a horrible noise that will make the audience's ears wither." Anton, not taking his eyes off the screen, answered, "Yes, thank you," and gave more money to the chemist. "Are you going home?" Later. Later. "Well, suit yourself. Eventually." Anton tracked down where the Mercedes had gone, some backwards place that not many people go to at all. Luckily, the driver stopped so that a CCTV camera could see the interior. The chief conductor said something to the driver, and he went somewhere. And then the conductor and Tatiana began to engage in a well-known thing right in the back seat of the car. Anton was so surprised by what was happening that he did not even turn on the video on the screen and did not record the shame for his wife afterwards, or rather he almost didn't. At the last moment, he did make a screen recording, but that short video showed the end of the process. After that, both the chief conductor and Tatiana straight into the camera. Anton felt uncomfortable. Even though it was already recorded, alas. Anton was not allowed to keep the video file on his computer and was only provided with broadcasting. And that's when Anton clearly recorded their faces. Yes, Anton said in a whisper and went home. His wife was already asleep, which amused Anton. He fell asleep himself. In the morning, he made Tatiana coffee, sprinkling inconspicuously what the chemist had created. He said with all kinds of kindness, "Sweetheart, I made you a drink." "Thank you, darling." Tatiana rejoiced and kissed Anton on the cheek. How Anton was infuriated by this hypocrisy. But there was no way out. It was necessary to the end of the role, so he kissed his wife back and hurriedly said that he had to move on to work. So early, Tatiana was surprised. Today, alas, yes. In fact, Anton was in a hurry to intercept the chief conductor on his way to the opera house. And Anton succeeded. As he drove onto the main city avenue, he noticed a Mercedes with the appropriate number plates ahead, pressed the accelerator of his company car and leveled up with the conductor's car. Next, he pressed the Mercedes against the curb, jumped out of the car, shoved his investigator's ID card at the driver and yelled, "Be right there. If you move, I'll put you behind bars." The driver seemed frightened and nodded his head. Then Anton went to the back passenger door, yanked it open and the conductor out of the back seat. "Are you out of your fucking mind?" shouted the man. A bald, bespectacled man with a puffy mustache and an elongated face, an obvious aristocrat. Well, or a man who looked like one. "You're the one who's a prick." Anton embarked out the same. "Do you know who I am?" "I am the chief conductor of the Central Opera House, Max Broom." Then Anton Grind showed his ID with feigned calmness and said, "Investigator Marcus, and I am here to see you on an unannounced case." The conductor lowered his arrogance, lowered his eyes. Apparently, he disliked investigators very much. And yet he asked, "What case is it with me?" "The case of my wife with whom you have been engaged." And Anton gave the address. "This is slander." The conductor shrieked. Anton grinned wickedly. "Dude. I'm an investigator and I have access to all the CCTV cameras in this. So don't wiggle. Besides here," he showed the footage he downloaded to his phone from the office computer screen. It's. The conductor gasped like a steam engine. He wanted to find the right words, but they left his head. God, what a shame, thought Max Broom doomfully. That's it. End of career, end of glory, end of everything. So what are we going to do now? Anton asked Anton bloatingly. Delete the tape, demanded the conductor. Otherwise, I'll hire a killer and he'll kill you. And that is a criminal offense. And you prove it. There is a witness. Anton nodded at the driver. The conductor's eyes flickered in panic. Finally, he rushed to the front door, opened it, threw the driver out and rushed, knocking down a man on the pedestrian crossing. Fortunately, there was only a few abrasions and a broken arm. That is when Anton called the police. What happened next, Anton learned by hearsay. It was like this: Broom had skidded through several intersections at a red light, at which point he was followed by 2 police cars. Broom gave cops the middle finger through the open window and swerved into a pedestrian zone. There he ran through several street cafes, demolished a soda machine and raced across a bridge over a man-made canal into the depths of the park, but not far. Trying to avoid hitting another person, Broom twisted the wheel sharply to the right, and the car flipped over, hitting a bump in the process. In the upside-down position, it rolled for a few dozen meters, rammed the parapet of another man-made canal and plunged into the water. It was not very deep, only a meter, but the car did a few somersaults and landed on the roof. The doors jammed and Broom himself was badly injured. The cause was drowning, as the medical experts later stated. Meanwhile, Anton returned home and posted on the internet video of Tatiana and Broom in the car. And on that day, there was another premiere, which was even partly going to be shown live on television. Or rather, not the whole premiere, just the beginning. Of course, Tatiana did not perform that day. She came home in tears and said, "Darling, I've lost my voice." "Yes. That happens to cheaters," Anton said. He looked indifferent, but the anger was boiling in him. Tatiana looked her husband in the eyes and realized denial makes no sense. "Anton, the investigator." All sniffed out and figured it out. "You have attacked the wrong man," he said. "I can smell a lie a mile away. You set me up so I wouldn't have a voice. Didn't you?" "Yes. I did. And I'm afraid it's permanent." "You bastard." Tatiana screamed and slapped him across the face. Anton took the slap. Said coolly, "Get out of here before the journalists came." What have they forgotten here? Tatiana did not understand. "Look." Anton showed the video posted on the internet. Adultery. Tatiana slapped Anton in the face and left the house. The day she spent in the city park, hid there from my witnesses and learned of the death of Broom. Then she spent the night in the basement of some house, and the next day, she learned that she was fired and, dishonorably. Now no theater could hire her with such a record. And the cheating video kept collecting views, likes, and comments. Soon Tatiana was recognized in the streets and poked her with the finger, though she did not look like the beautiful opera singer at all. The fact is that while there was a divorce case, Tatiana lived on the street eating out of dumpsters and so on. In general, she led the life of a vagrant. However, people are people, and soon they forgot about the affair, and the video on the internet was lost. Just as the trail of Tatiana was lost too. One thing is clear, she could not end well, and it is unlikely that she lived to a ripe old age. And Anton, in turn, met a new soloist of the same opera house. The woman was divorced and was bringing up a 7-year-old son on her own. The lady's appearance was, frankly speaking, rather ugly, but that was not what made Anton fall in love with the singer. Her name was Linda. Linda turned out to be very kind and faithful as well as understandable, and her voice was much clearer than Tatiana's. Linda had a lot of good points. Her son Yuri was at first wary of the newcomer in the family, but then he accepted Anton as his father. And on the same day, Linda declared, "Now that Yuri had accepted you, the wedding could be arranged." "Do you agree?" "I agree," said Anton. They lived happily ever after. Dear listeners, your support is very important to us. If you like our story, please like, comment, and subscribe. It's very motivating for us. We need your feedback to improve our content.